I am speaking with
Robert Scoble of Rackspace. I'm the Startup Liaison Officer. I go around the world and interview startups for Rackspace.
All right, then you know what? Since you interviewed startups for Rackspace and you interviewed great talented people who work for startups, what do you think it takes to A, find a great startup, and B, work for a great startup?
Oh, finding great ones is tough because like I have a Facebook list of 1,100 startups. That's a great way to start. Just start watching what the startups are doing on Facebook or on Twitter or on AngelList if you can get on AngelList. And that'll get you acclimated to just, okay, there's a lot of so-so ones and there's some really awesome ones like the Pinterests or the highlights or the Twitters, you know. But really, you have to decide where your risk-reward needle is. You know, if you join a startup that is starting tonight, that's going to be riskier because you don't know how good it is. You haven't built the product. But if you're an engineer that really thrives on that chaos and that risks system, then you're probably a founder. That's the best way to start a good startup, and start it yourself, right?
When you talk to startups and they talk about, you know, the people they need, you know, like, oh man, if we had this kind of person, it would be great. Who is that kind of person? I
was just talking to some of the people from Numi Accelerator and even from the Irish accelerators that are here. Most of them want tech help, you know, people who can build iOS apps, in other words, know Objective-C, or people who can be data scientists and build back-end systems that you know, can study millions and millions and millions of things and do that in real time and bring a new answer up and, you know, demonstrate something new. There's a few that have that stuff all taken care of and now need somebody to do the marketing and the sales and that kind of thing. But generally it's the other way around. Somebody has a great idea and now, oh, I need to build this thing, and how do I do that? I don't know how to code Objective-C very well, or I don't know how to build on Android, and I need a little bit of help there. So usually it's the tech side that is more in need.
Let's just talk about trends. There are a bazillion companies here, and there's going to be a bazillion more rotated in tomorrow. Is there just some basic themes you're seeing in terms of new startups, like this year as opposed to last year?
Well, personalization, or what I call contextual applications, are definitely a trend here. In fact, one of the sponsors is Qualcomm's Gimbal, which is an SDK to build, or a software developer kit, to build these new kinds of contextual apps. So what I mean by that is, in the old world, you just had apps that showed you, you know, news. The new world is the app knows where you are, what kind of things you liked on Facebook, knows who's around you. Like on Highlight, there's an app called Highlight that shows me people who are near me right now. And that, you take those inputs and personalize the news for you. That's the new trend. I think it'll end up, you know, with these Google glasses, the Project Glass that Google's showing off, these glasses that were just shown off at the Fashion Week, where it's going to show you information about your world and what you're doing, and it'll say, hey, we notice you're walking down the street right now. And we know you're walking toward a meeting. Well, here's some things in between there, or here's how to navigate. Here's some news that you need to know. You know, maybe that building's on fire and you don't know it yet because you're walking, and it'll tell you stuff. So the personalization is a trend that goes across a lot of things. Kayak, for instance, a travel site, and they have contextual notifications now that the notifications change on whether you're in the plane or in an airport or at, you know, on your trip or before your trip. The notifications should change to who you are and what your intent is and what you're doing, the context of what you're doing.
So it's interesting, when I came up to see you this morning, there was another gentleman pitching his, you know, news aggregation app out there, and you know as well as I know there are a million companies say that, and they all sort of preface it with, we're going to give you what you want, you know, when you want it. But there's a lot that sort of fail. Now, yes, the Google Glasses example, it would be awesome if it worked. So what I guess What do you think is failing? Because there's so many companies that are trying. Where are they failing? What's not happening?
Well, you know, I just built a Facebook list of 1,100 startups. So I went through Angel List and found all the latest funded startups. I went through Y Combinator and added their latest startups, and Angel Pad and Plug and Play and on and on. And now it's just starting to grow. Every week I get another 200 startups. And some trends I'm noticing is very few of them have any likes on Facebook, which tells me they haven't yet gotten anybody to know about them or use them, and if they've gotten to that point, to get excited about them, excited enough to say, yeah, I like that startup and I want to see it on my feed and I want to join in and I want to tell other people about it. That's really the challenge now. If you're starting a company, you have to get people to try it, which is tough. You have to come to conferences and show it off, and demo it, you know. And you got to get people to use it and then get to where they are thrilled. And only 1 out of 20 companies even gets to that stage. Then we can have some fun, you know. Okay, now you got 1,000 likes on Facebook. Okay, you're going. Now we can talk. How do you get to the next level? How do you get it further? What do you need to add to get a mass market enthused about it, and so on and so forth. But yeah, the first job of a startup is survival. And survival to me is get that first 1,000 likes, get the first 100,000 customers, or the first 1,000,000 customers, first 10 million customers if you want to be cool. You know, and that's tough. It's really tough. I mean, I'm looking at these startups, it's like, why would I use this? So a lot of them don't even do the basics of explaining what they do, how they're differentiated, and you know, and even do any product marketing that makes sense. So that it all gets into attention, telling a story, getting people excited, and finding your customer, because you know, out of 1,000 people, only 50 might care about your product. You know, if you're selling Boeing airplanes, there's only 50 people in the world who buy Boeing airplanes. So you don't need to talk to the whole world. You need to talk to those 50 people and tell them, hey, I got a better airplane than Airbus does, right? And the same thing is true for startup. You know, if you're doing a taxi replacement service like Uber, that only really matters for people in big cities, right? And then you have to have the system working to make that happen. So I don't know. It's hard to do a startup. That's why I don't do them. I like sitting back and studying them and saying, "Oh, those 5 look cool." You know?
Excellent. Hey, Robert, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, and thanks for doing what you do at Dice.